Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. What a difference a day makes. Did you all ever see that Three Stooges movie? Oil's well that ends well. Did things end? I don't know. There was an about face. Somebody changed their mind real quick like. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of other stuff. But what do I do while people come in and get themselves a nice cup of coffee or a cold brouhaha or an adult beverage of your choice? What do? I play videos, and then what will we do? After I play videos, we'll be like butter and get on a roll.
Corralled into this box where we either have to hate Vladimir Putin and believe everything evil that's said about him and love Ukraine, and there's no in between. And that reminds me a lot of you're either a white supremacist or you go with the Democrat narrative on everything under the sun.
The most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today, white supremacy.
And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
I mean, there's as much interference here as you could possibly imagine. Before you even get to Hunter Biden, Nancy Pelosi, John Kerry, Mitt Romney, and all of their children who earn millions from Ukrainian gas companies. These days, it's hard to believe anything because they've lied about COVID, they lied about Russia collusion, they lied about the Ukraine impeachment trial, and there's so much more going on in Ukraine that nobody is talking about.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
My job as a journalist is to try to understand what is the truth here. I don't like being lied to, and we're being lied to on an epic scale. When we're told your only choice is you have to be 100% with Zelensky. Slava Ukraina. The puppet who you can find on the internet in black stilettos and leather pants. Zelensky was selected, like so many of our leaders. And honestly, with big tech and with election fraud these days, we don't know how many leaders all around the world have been selected for us and weren't actually voted in.
How to build back better.
We have to build back better.
Build back better.
If Donald Trump gets the Republican nomination, there are many of us that will move heaven and earth to ensure he doesn't win.
We are fighting the same battles all over the world. To pretend that this war is about Russia and Ukraine is a barefaced lie. Putin has been warning for 15 years that he is not going to stand by while the globalists take over the world, build bioweapons facilities and whatever else they're doing in Ukraine. Ukraine has been a center of money laundering for many of the leaders in this country. Billions of US dollars have been laundered through Ukraine, and we say nothing about it. Does nobody question these things? We have an idiot like Lieutenant Colonel Vindman.
Mr. Vindman.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Do you always insist on civilians calling you by your rank?
And sits there as a lieutenant colonel. He didn't even make colonel. And he's telling the president of the United States what his policy should be. You have a traitor in the form of Maria Yovanovitch, who was Obama's ambassador, who's telling Ukrainian government officials, don't listen to the will of the American people.
In his July 25th phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky, the president badmouthed Yovanovitch, calling her bad news.
I was shocked, absolutely shocked.
And then she's given a cushy job for life at Georgetown University, and we're told that the president of the United States cannot say to his foreign counterparts that we want you to look into something.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. And they put in place someone who was solid.
So much hypocrisy and dishonesty here, and Ukraine is at the center of it all.
You want to play this? Okay. Come on. Okay. You want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
Storm zone.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about.
They have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person.
He's absolutely going to come back with full vengeance the next time around.
I think about what 4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. Our Constitution really does give President tremendous power to destroy. This will be something we could never have imagined. Now the gloves are off.
Some of Trump's close political allies told him they are are working on figuring out the identities of the FBI and DOJ staff and forming lists.
I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist enforcement of the law. The deep state is destroying our nation, but the tables must turn and we will quickly destroy the deep state. We know where the bodies are buried. There are a lot of people out there that have done some very, very evil things, very bad things, I would say treasonous things against our country. People that have done such harm to our country. I've been looking at them for a long time. He could order the investigation and prosecution of individuals who he sees as enemies. Put them all in jail where they belong. You gotta get tough and smart, and you have to fight fire with fire. You can't allow this to go on. And I will be the one to clean it up. I am your retribution. We will take care of it. We will take care of it.
Hi, folks. Thanks for joining me tonight. I hope everyone's doing well. Who came by to see me tonight? Trump did something big. You better believe he did. Something happened. And, I was thinking tonight that I'd be doing a broadcast. The bombs are going to be falling tonight, right now. And all of a sudden, the brakes came up and the whole scenario changed. What happened? Hi, Todd. How are you? Elva, nice to see you. Roberto, Tammy, from Younger Gang. Thank you for going by. Buy me a coffee last night, Younger Gang. Sissy's here. Sherry's here. Colette, nice to see you. All right. Damon, nice to see you. All right, let's see who else is rolling in. And I don't want to miss anybody like Frank. How you doing, Frank? Nice to see you. Let's see. And all my lurkers out there, I want to say hi to my lurkers. Melinda's here. Nice to see you. Robert, nice to see you. Who else is rolling in? Being like brother Randy. All right. How are you doing, Randy? We've been wondering how you doing, buddy. We hope you're doing good. Rebecca, Sparky, nice to see you. All right. Kim's here. Nice to see you, Kim. And Elva. Oh, I will make sure I get everybody. And all right, let's see. Well, there's Wayne. He's giving me a thumbs up. All right. Make sure you all give me a thumbs up. It helps the video get around. I really appreciate it. And I'll be putting links in the chats to buy me a coffee if anybody wants to help the channel out. And if I miss anybody, you know I do not want to miss anybody. Like Pappy Two Bears, I didn't miss you. I got you. So who else is new here in the chats? Wow, Gary's here. I'll try not to shout too loud, Gary. I should put my headphones in. Judy, nice to see you, because I can't hear myself sometimes, and then I end up yelling. Let's see, Sherry's here. Cindy's here. All right, let's see. I'll make sure I get everybody. When we get any new people, we'll try to get through to them, right? You got a week full of doctors, a heart doctor, a regular doctor, and so on. All right. Well, you just keep on keeping on, buddy. And rest and movement, you got to have both. You gotta keep moving, and you gotta take a break and rest, and keep on moving and take a break and rest. So, hi, Judy. Nice to see you. So anyway, so much stuff is happening. It's happening. What's happening? It is happening. We got changes across the board. We've got good teams working on corruption and voter fraud, and we got international teams putting things together. And, it's funny. I didn't have any sound, and I had to repeat something last night twice. I had to repeat something. And I said, remember, don't forget that Fani Willis is hanging on by her fake fingernails. So before that, I said, we had that judge in Georgia that's going to be in big trouble. She was fornicating in her chambers. And I didn't have any sound. I had to repeat all of that, right? You all remember that? Who was here last night and remembered all that? Thank you, Judy. We love you too, sweetie. But anyway, well, what comes out today? Of course, they try to put out in notifications things to bring people down, right? And shape the narrative. I'm not subscribed to the New York Times. But somehow they invade my phone from my notifications. New York Times, more Trump losses in court. I didn't click on the article. What are they talking about? Some dopey circuit court judge, some nobody, 1 out of 900 judges got an issue with, I don't know, Trump's name on the Walk of Fame or who knows. A federal judge in hot water. Isn't that a way to start an article? To put Trump having losses in court and then a federal judge in hot water. What are they talking about? They're talking about that judge from Georgia that I was talking about last night. I had to mention it twice. She was fornicating in her chambers. Guess what? She's a federal judge, just like all these losers that keep putting out things to keep Kilmar Abrego Garcia in America, like ones who say take Trump's name off of the Kennedy Center. The same level of judge got in her chambers a picture of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, quotes from Cardi B, I believe, framed and on her wall. Oh, by the way, rumor has it Cardi B is going to front Carmelo $5 million for an appeal. We'll talk about it when I get to his stupid little pictures. Carmelo Anthony's getting $5 million. So the question's about, what's going to happen to him in jail? Like I said, everybody gets evaluated on how they can be used, all right, or how what they can give, what kind of benefit can come to these hardheads that are in there for life. They're not going to beat up somebody or worse that's got access to that kind of money. They'll protect him. Probably try to recruit him into the Muslim Brotherhood. I'm not kidding. So anyway, so that's the judge they're talking about, mixing in a headline with some Trump losses. Who the hell knows what they're talking about? Because every time Trump loses in court, they blow the horn real loud. Trump lost. Trump lost. A federal judge said it's illegal. And then it gets overturned, and they don't report that. They just keep saying, Trump lost. Trump lost. It's illegal. Trump's illegal. And then, by the way, there's a judge in hot water. Let's keep talking about Trump, not this federal judge. Oh, my God, this is a disgusting story. Was investigated by the feds. She lied to the feds. She's getting impeached. For committing federal crimes, obstruction of justice, lying to investigators. So, and she's buddy with Fani Willis. So, Anyway, it's so funny that this pops out in the New York Times. Has not been national news, but the night before I brought it up. I was saying, we hadn't heard out of certain people. One of them was Joe Scarborough. We hadn't heard from. What happened to Joe Scarborough? I used to play clips of Joe Scarborough every foggy day. Him and his bride, what's her face? And I'm like, whatever happened to him? What's going on? Well, Trump put the truth out about him. He's getting fired. So when people start getting quiet, you don't hear things out of them. Something's happening. Something's going on. So, but this thing with Iran, I was getting copies of Trump's truths about we're going to take over Kharg Island. And clips where he told a reporter, if they don't sign a deal, I'm going to bomb the SH, and then that's it out of them. I'm going to bomb the F out of them. That's what he was saying this morning. And I'm saying, oh, man, I'm going to have live stream tonight, probably while the operation's ongoing. Should I even do a live stream, or should I watch Kharg Island getting flattened out or taken over? Then we hear, oh, we got a deal. At the highest levels, the mullah himself, the cardboard mullah, is in agreement. And it's no uncertain terms. That's why I put that in there. There's terms of an agreement. Well, in this agreement, there are no uncertain terms. What compelled that kind of a turnaround? I'll go over some of the posts that Donald Trump put up, the Fox News reports Donald Trump himself posted leading up to that point. But before I do that, I want to ask y'all something. Who was in the live stream last night that saw me put this up? I said it was posted with no comments about 10 minutes before the CENTCOM announced the cessation of operations last night. Looks like the whole side of a damn mountain coming over, blowing apart. No location, no comment at all, just a picture. And who remembers me putting this video up? And I said that I thought it was a message. There's the cardboard mullah. There's the one that Trump said, I may talk to him. I don't know. I may meet with him. And that just got the Iranians, you'll never meet with the Grand Ayatollah. Who do you think you are? But remember this video? And if you look at it, you'll see longitude, latitude, locations, okay? And I said, I believe it was a message. They can put Arabic writing on it all they want. A message, we know where you all are. We know where your nuclear dust is, where your nuclear reactor is, and where your cardboard mullah is, too. And Trump referring it to nuclear dust all the time. I wouldn't be surprised. And what do I know? I'm just an old man on the internet. if there are some negotiations going on, while Trump was posting the things he was posting, they got this message, right? That, look, we got one bomb and it knocked the top of your mountain off. And you know, we don't want the world to get the wrong impression. All that nuclear dust, you know, if it starts showing some readings, people might think that there was a nuclear accident or an actual weapon got used. Now, you wouldn't want the world to think that, would you? We know you're buried so deep that you don't think we've got anything that can get to you. But wouldn't it be a shame if all of a sudden there was nuclear readings because of your nuclear dust? Wink, wink, not anything we might do. Because I tell you what, if it was me, Trump's sitting here facing what? He's facing the moment in time. The moment in 1,000 years where we either save this republic and the world or we don't. And would I use the N word to get to the cardboard mullah, or to make damn good and sure that they'll never have a nuclear weapon? Would I use a nuke? You damn right I would. And my hint would be, you know, all that dust you got around there, they might think we did something like that. You know, not that we would. Look what our conventional weapon did. How much you want to bet that underneath that cloud, underneath that mountain right there is something very, very important? Probably the cardboard mullah himself. And don't think it didn't rattle his hospital bed. So, yeah, something happened because they were putting out strong resistance, strong words. I had video last night of where they were launching missiles. They launched 10. Here's one. They launched 10 into Jordan. They launched missiles into the base in Kuwait. Here, I'll go ahead and play this one. I think one of them's where it shows 10 of them streaking through the sky. Ballistic missiles. Oh no, this is CENTCOM. This is CENTCOM showing all the things we fired off. Yeah, these are the missiles we were shooting off from the ocean. But everything they hurled, everything got intercepted and shot down. They wasted like between 20 and 30 ballistic missiles. They're not made of ballistic missiles. Ballistic missiles are expensive. And let's see what happened here. Is this the... Then they published this picture. Acting defiant. This is supposedly one of the Iranian jets landing at a base. Like, oh, we still got jets going. But it's a jet from the 1970s. So they were doing that. They were launching missile strikes. Here's the one where it's 10 of them. This is going into, I believe these were towards Bahrain. So yeah, they're still lethal. But you figure you launch 20 ballistic missiles and there's your damage reports come back that you didn't succeed. You take a hint. There I see on the screen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you'll see some more coming up out. This was put out by the Iranians. And you see I think this one, you see a landmark over on there's 2 more coming out of the left-hand corner. I think you see a landmark in one of these pictures, like a light pole or something. I don't want to have to play every one of these ballistic missile videos I have, because they're pretty much the same things, but people like to watch them. But all these things amounted to nothing. There's 2 more coming out on the right-hand side. So it tells you that their launch facilities are semi-concentrated. When you get 10 of them all in one sky shot, right? So anyway, all that action going on, and they got nowhere. They got nowhere. Then you had Trump coming out with very strong words. He put up 2 clips from Fox News, but he also did an interview. Let me go ahead and play the phone interview. Some clips. I could have got the whole phone interview, but it's like almost 20 minutes, 16 to 20 minutes somewhere in there. I didn't do the whole thing. I got some clips. We'll just listen to them.
Just like they took it away from the kid. And I went on a tear. And by the way, we have the U.S. attorneys looking at it. And the 2 weeks said all of a sudden, we have a surprise. Steve Hilton won. And he did win.
Oh, that's where he's talking about the cheating in California. The kid was on a tear, Spencer Pratt, and everything changed around. I got a clip from Jonathan Turley about that. And we've been told that arrests are going to happen from California. Let me see what this is. Then I'll play the report that Donald Trump, he put up the Fox News report this morning in 2 sections. But anyway, here's Trump on the phone again.
I can't believe the press they're getting. They can't even believe it. Yeah. And they told me, they said it's amazing how well we're doing in the papers. We're not doing so well. They're negotiating with us to make a deal.
Well, Mr. President,
it's hard for them because they are proud. They're very proud.
We know
they've been the bully of the Middle East for 47 years.
Yeah, they have.
They've been ripping off our presidents and other countries for years. They played Obama for a fool. The JCPOA is one of the worst deals I've ever seen, other than NAFTA, the NAFTA trade deal, which was maybe the worst deal ever made.
Mr. President.
But the JCPOA was a road to a nuclear weapon. Mine is a road to no nuclear weapon. Right. They can't have a nuclear. It says you cannot have a nuclear weapon. We will not have. And I didn't like it. It wasn't strong enough because it said develop. You cannot develop. I said, no, I want buy also. So they fought me on that for a day, and then they agreed to it. You cannot develop or purchase a nuclear weapon. So it's we got everything, but the press just covers it so crazily. They
don't worry about it.
No matter what I do, the press will say, it was a great victory for Iran. These people are great.
Mr. President.
It's Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, Mr. President, I agree with Brian. Don't worry about it. Our viewers are watching Fox, and so they see this coverage. They're not reading the New York Times. But we know that you've destroyed their air defense systems, their radar. Their Navy is at the bottom of the ocean. We know that America is winning this fight. But when they destroy or they shoot down one of our Apache helicopters and we strike Iranian targets and then they fire missiles at our bases in Bahrain and Kuwait and Jordan, we have to fight back. So when you say you don't think America has the appetite to do what we're seeing tonight.
Well, I'm reading the comments. I'm trying to get what everybody's talking about with the timing of this. The timing of this. All right, we got the big fight coming up Sunday. Okay? The big fight coming up Sunday, and I see June 21st in the comments too. We got FIFA, right? But Trump made a decision. He made a decision that he's putting this to bed. That's why I said last night. He told him, I'm coming in and I'm going to pimp slap you, and you're going to like it. And you're not going to be able to stop me. At 5:30, I'm coming in and put one upside your head. And he did exactly that. And then he said, I'm finished pimp slapping you. And you don't sign the deal. The next day, he said, I'm going to take over Carg Island. I said last night, what the market's like is certainty. And what he did showed he was in control, that the media is full of crap, that they're liars, that we're in control. And he disclosed the oil that we've discussed has been going through there. Iran had not shut down the straits. So Trump did what he said he was going to do. And then today, this morning, he was saying, I've had enough. We're going to take over Carg Island the same way we took over Venezuela if you don't hurry up and sign a deal. Tonight, he said that this morning. We're going to do it tonight. So anyway, let me play this other clip of him on the phone.
It's one of those things. They have no defense. They can't do anything about it. The only thing they have is fake news. You know, they have the New York Times write stories like they're doing great, and they're not. They've been wiped out. CNN and that MS Now or whatever they call it nowadays, NBC had to get rid of it because it was bad for their reputation. But the publicity that they have is incredible. It's almost like they're doing well, and they're getting decimated, and they're dying to make a deal. They want to make a deal so badly. But, you know, you read the New York Times and you read the Wall Street Journal, which is so fake. I mean, I know you guys own it, but it's a real piece of garbage. And you read the Wall Street Journal, it's like they did an editorial today about we're not hitting them hard enough. I mean, it's just not hitting them hard enough. We dropped $250 million worth of bombs on them last night. You know, the whole thing is crazy. But and they're really in submission. They just don't know it yet. Okay, to be honest with you, they just don't know it yet. And we are talking to them and all. But, you know, look, my preference has always been take Carg Island. That's been, Brian knows that. I spoke to him a long time ago. Lawrence knows it. I spoke to him a long time ago. I said my preference would be that. I don't know that America has the stomach for it, to be honest with you. You're going to make a fortune. But I don't know that America has the stomach. I think they'd like to see us come home. But we did it with Venezuela. Venezuela's worked out great for everybody. We've taken millions and millions of barrels of oil out of Venezuela. We've brought them to Houston and various other places, Louisiana, where refineries that we have that are incredible. They're going 24 hours a day, making a fortune. And, I like that in this case, too. But I'm not sure that America has a long time. You know, it's a little longer process, something that's a guarantee if I want to do it.
Mr. President,
but I'm not sure the country has the appetite for it. Does that make sense to you?
I understand where
as good as it is. By the way, as good as it is, that's always been my number one thing. But as good as it is, I'm not sure the country has the appetite for it, and that's okay. I understand.
Okay, so he's as far as the operation to take over Carg Island, he said, I don't think the country has an appetite for it. That doesn't mean he isn't going to do it. That didn't mean he isn't going to do it. What is this one? The United States will be hitting Iran, whose Navy, Air Force, radar, anti-aircraft, and all other forms of defense, together with most of its offensive capability, are gone. Very hard tonight. At some point, in the not-too-distant future, we will be taking Carg Island and other infrastructure points and assume total control of their oil and gas markets, much like we have with Venezuela, which is working out brilliantly for Venezuela and the United States of America. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump. What has the Marxists countered that with? What have they been touting for months? This is Donald Trump's war of choice, totally ignoring that Barack Hussein Obama put Iran on course for a nuclear weapon. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be in this. This is Barack Hussein Obama's mess that Donald Trump is cleaning up. So here's what I believe. Yeah, here's what Central Command came out with last night. Announces the completion of self-defense strikes on Iran. And they put the date. And until this statement came out, the bombs were flying. Right when the statement came out, they stopped. So, in other words, it's showing them it's at will. We can do this at will. CENTCOM forces completed additional self-defense strikes against multiple targets in Iran at the commander-in-chief's direction. I'll read it abbreviated. Military surveillance capabilities, communication systems, air defense sites across Iran. Marine Corps, Air Force, Navy fired precision munitions on Iranian targets that pose a threat to U.S. forces and international commercial ships transiting regional waters. They're in response to Iran's unwarranted and continued aggression. U.S. forces remain vigilant, lethal, and ready. Now, the caveat is Iran is still lethal. And like Trump said, they could get lucky with a Manpad, a shoulder-fired missile. But in a general sense, they're finished. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. I hate to play so much of it, but it's part of the drama that happened from very early this morning till now. Something big happened that got them to change their mind. And before he got on the phone with Fox News, he was on the phone with this guy. This is where he told him, somewhere in there's two clips. He said he was going to bomb the F out of them. He said it a couple of times, used different expletives. And starting tonight. So there's a third clip where it talks about the Iranian people and what's going to be the aftermath of this. But I didn't want to get in. That's a lot of clips. But anyway, let me go ahead and play this. Let me see if this is the first one. Maybe I'll have the back of the report first and then the beginning of the report last. I don't know, but we'll go ahead and play it, see.
Overnight, the U.S. military unleashed powerful strikes against the Iranian regime. CENTCOM says Iranian military surveillance capabilities, along with air defense systems and communication sites, were hit. Speaking from the Situation Room, President Trump told Fox News 49 Tomahawk missiles hit locations as close as 40 miles from the capital of Tehran. Positions were also targeted along the southwestern part of Iran. The president described the strikes as violent and vicious. Also, President Trump says top Iranian officials called him directly, asking him to stop the bombing. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth spoke before the strikes began.
Instead, they're going to have tap, tap, tap bombs dropping on key facilities in Iran from the United States of America. And that's not because we want to restart anything we don't have to restart. It's because the War Department is prepared to set the terms to ensure that we get the kind of deal President Trump expects.
In response to these strikes, the Iranians launched ballistic missiles and drones toward Gulf countries, including Kuwait and Bahrain. Also, the Jordanians say they shot down at least 20 Iranian ballistic missiles. Guys?
So, Trey, you know what's interesting in the response? They don't go after Qatar. They don't go after Saudi Arabia. They don't go after the UAE. Is that intentional? Is there something to be reading into that?
The reality is the radar systems and air defense systems were taken out over the past 48 hours. And these were systems they tried to rebuild, President Trump told me, during the ceasefire. And so the United States once again controls the skies of Iran. And so the Iranians have very limited options in terms of actually responding to these U.S. strikes. And according to reports, no damage was caused to U.S. military facilities in response to the strikes with this Iranian ballistic missile fire. The Iranians today are once again saying the Strait of Hormuz is closed. We have heard this rhetoric before from the Iranian regime. And then President Trump announced yesterday that the United States was actually secretly moving millions of barrels of oil out of the Persian Gulf. And it gives you an indication.
That was an open secret. That was an open secret. They knew it was going out there. The oil was going out because it was keeping their wells open. Part of it was keeping their wells from collapsing or being damaged so much. So it wasn't like we were slinking around doing it. It was just something that wasn't put out to the general public. And Jordan shooting down 20 ballistic missiles. And then you have Bahrain and Kuwait also shot down. They lost 40 or 50 at least ballistic missiles. They're not made of missiles. And I'm going to say it again. They had to do a damage report on what happened to their stuff, like the side of that mountain I showed you. And an assessment of the success of their weaponry, which is zero. And something changed their mind early this morning, where Trump said, hey, it looks like we're getting a deal. But anyway, it was an open secret about that oil coming through. You don't have millions of barrels of oil coming through and nobody know nothing about it. They just didn't have the capability to do anything about it.
Of Iranian propaganda versus reality on the ground. And so, again, Iran has very limited leverage right now, not only at the negotiating table, but also on the battlefield.
But Trey, can I just follow up what Brian was alluding to? After the first series of strikes, there were some statements from the Iranians alluding to uniting the Arab world again, the Gulf states. Is there any fracture between our coalition with the Gulf states, or this is just Iranians being delusional?
Yeah, the Iranians aren't quite clear with what's actually happening in the region. There is a united front against their regime right now because they're launching missiles and drones, not only toward military targets, but also civilian targets in the Gulf. An 11-year-old girl was injured in Bahrain due to this attack overnight. When we step back here, the president is now negotiating with bombs. He told me overnight that if they are unwilling to sign an agreement, we'll bomb the S out of them tonight. And so this is really expected to be ongoing if the Iranians are unwilling to make that good faith deal. But the sense that I got speaking with President Trump, who was inside the Situation Room during our call, and he was alongside Vice President J.D. Vance and Special Envoys Kushner and Witkoff, is that the United States understands who they're dealing with. Vice President Vance, who is leading the negotiations, really laid out exactly who the Iranians are, and he has a firm grasp on the games that they're trying to play at the negotiating table. And President Trump is fed up with that, and he said the Iranians have been tapping the U.S. along, and he's not going to stand for it. And that is why he launched these strikes overnight, to put new pressure on the Iranian regime. And these were much more extensive than what we saw before. 49 Tomahawk missiles soaring through the sky and ultimately slamming into these targets within inches of the location they were expected to hit. The president was getting real-time updates in the Situation Room, ordering these strikes overnight. And again, we do expect more strikes to continue if the Iranians do not sign on the dotted line.
Trey, the president mentioned yesterday that while this conflict has been ongoing, he was secretively removing oil through the Straits of Hormuz in the middle of the night until Iran found out. Now, he said it was really hard for him to keep this quiet, but he wanted to tell the American people Where did that oil go? Did that help with our gas prices, help drop it a little bit?
Well, over a week ago, about 2 weeks ago, that pauses me having to cut my mic back on. But about 2 weeks ago, Trump put up a truth where he said oil is on the way. And there was a convoy of over 200 tankers heading over to Indonesia, Japan, and the Philippines, okay, and China from America. And that's not the only convoy. What they're leaving out here, and Trump has said it, but the media won't repeat it, is that alternative ways of getting oil is being generated all the time and developed all the time. The pipeline from the UAE that is going to bypass the Strait of Hormuz, the pipeline from Saudi Arabia that's being expanded, and the oil convoys from the U.S. and making icebreakers to take the Northern Passage sea route to deliver oil to Europe. And all these issues are being brought up not just with Iran, but other Middle Eastern countries. Trump said Iran's been the bully of the Middle East. Well, guess what? They've all been getting a hell of a lot of money that could evaporate. They could end up riding camels and sleeping in tents and being nomads again, just between Latin American countries like Venezuela, the U.S., and Russia. Oil reserves, and we found out in Australia, $30 trillion oil reserves. The Middle East could become unnecessary, okay? And they can go back to, like I said, their camels and their sand and living like nomads. And it's dawning on them. And Iran is seeing that these alternate routes are happening. And Trump is not screwing around. He's moving full steam ahead with that stuff. And he's reminding them, if you want to be relevant, you better play ball with me because things are going to change. And you can either be part of the change or not. But anyway, I'm interrupted too long here.
It's a great question, and that's actually part of the reason that oil prices have stabilized, because there was this secret operation going on behind the scenes. And we understand, according to President Trump, around 150 vessels with oil on board were able to make it out of the Persian Gulf. These are likely vessels coming from Gulf countries, not from Iranian territory, but it's an indication that the president found a way to actually keep escorting these vessels, despite the fact, again, that the Iranians said they were in control. And that's why it's so interesting today. You have top Iranian officials releasing statements this morning saying, in response to U.S. strikes, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Well, they said that before, and the United States was moving millions of barrels of oil out of the Persian Gulf. And so, again, this is a lot of rhetoric from the Iranian regime. And while this is happening, the president is playing 4D chess against the Iranians. He's not only stabilizing the oil markets, but he's now bombing the Iranian regime again to take out their air defense systems and their radar sites. A message to those in Tehran that if you want to play this game any longer, these strikes will continue. And once again, U.S. forces control the skies of your country.
And just a real quick question, Trey. Are we bombing right now?
No, we're not bombing right now. According to U.S. Central Command, these strikes ended overnight. They were quite extensive, not just targeting those positions outside the Iranian capital of Tehran, but along that southwestern coast next to the Persian Gulf. At this moment, there's no exchange of fire taking place. And as you could imagine, there are some regional diplomats that have reached out to us this morning to say that talks are ongoing. The reality is things are in a different place than they were 48 hours ago. The president drew a red line, the Iranians crossed it, and ultimately he is responding with force.
Well, you know, the situation with them using their mosquito boats, well, we also showed them where they're vulnerable there, too. We've got our own unmanned vessels. That's what we used to save those 2 helicopter pilots. And let me tell you, 20 years ago, this country was been making for public consumption, okay, for the consumer. 30 and 40-foot vessels that could go 80 miles an hour. I know, I rode in one of them. And I had a friend that went to buy one. The one I was in was a cigarette boat. That was many years. That was probably 30 years ago. That went to buy one. He said, you want to ride along? I said, no, I'll wait here on the dock. I already done all that. I've been there and done that. I want no parts of it. But what do you think the military can produce? If we can do that on a commercial level. And now that they have unmanned vessels, we don't have to worry about as much. We don't have to worry as much about the fake news media trumpeting every time we unfortunately have a fatality. And it would be like fish in a barrel if they were to try to disrupt the lanes that we have open now. Trump announced it, and he's repeated it, and CENTCOM has repeated it, that we opened a lane up. We took the mines out of a passageway through the Strait of Hormuz, and it's a safe passage. But the media doesn't repeat it. And if they were to try to get close to that, it would be like shooting fish in a barrel. So here's the other half of the report that came out this morning. This was before Iran folded like a cheap chair.
The United States military unleashing powerful strikes overnight against the Iranian regime. President Trump exclusively telling Fox News in a phone call from the Situation Room that 49.
Oh, I must have put both those reports instead of a first and second. Oh my God, because that's the same report. That's okay. Here's Trump in the Oval Office. I got two clips of him in the Oval Office. Trump taking reporters' questions.
How confident are you that there will be a signing this weekend? Because you have come close to sealing a deal, but at the last minute it has fallen apart. And
it'll be soon. Maybe this weekend.
And has the Supreme Leader approved this deal, sir?
I understand the answer is yes.
And when this deal is signed, is the United States going to immediately lift the blockade?
Yes, that's true. That's part of the deal.
And
you'll have oil prices dropping like a rock.
And sir, have you actually secured an agreement on the discussions about the nuclear material and the nuclear negotiations?
Yes, conceptually on that, and nobody's getting close to it because it's buried under a mountain, basically. There's B-2 bombers.
But has Iran committed to not pursuing a nuclear weapon, or will there be more negotiations on that down the line?
They will not have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that. There will be no, which is the whole reason, which is a big part of the reason.
Is that going to be in your agreement, sir?
They will not only not have, they will not purchase, develop in any way, shape, or form a nuclear weapon. They will not have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, not only will they not develop, but they won't purchase or acquire in any way, shape, or form a nuclear weapon. Now, I don't know how we're going to verify getting the nuclear dust, so to speak. But they say J.D. Vance is going to be going up. J.D. Vance is going to be going to Europe this weekend to sign this deal. You think it's going to hold up? I mean, we got one more day left before the weekend news cycle, right? And anything can happen. But if things are stable and J.D. Vance goes and has a ceremony dealing with Pakistan and signs an agreement with officials from Iran, just like Trump said, oil's going to drop like a stone. Here's another clip from him in the Oval Office.
Settlement of the war with Iran, and we're going to be subject to finalization of documents, which should get done over the next few days. Probably have a signing maybe in Europe, and it's a great thing. Stock market's up 1,000 points. That means they like the deal. See, that means they like. If the market goes down, that means they don't like the deal. But it's been up. Oil's dropped. Oil will start coming down to, I think, even lower than it was before. I said I was in Iowa. It was $1.85 a gallon. And I don't know if I'm going to get there, but we're going to get pretty close. It's going to come down, and when oil comes down, everything else comes down. And most importantly, we have a deal that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, which was the whole purpose of what we had to go through to get this. So it was a big, very big thing. But we have a signing soon, and the documents are in pretty final shape. So we'll see. We'll see. Very good. Should be done. And should be done pretty quickly. They want it every bit as much as everybody else wants it. And I think a lot of good relationships can ensue from this. I just spoke with the leaders of many of the countries that were mentioned in the release. I just spoke to Bibi. I spoke to the great heads of nations, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others. And we're going to be talking to Turkey, President Erdogan, who's great. And it's really a wonderful thing. With a lot of spirit. Pakistan was fantastic. The Prime Minister and the, I call him the general. He's a general. He's a great general. He's so great that he's actually a field marshal, a step above. And they're all very happy. The whole Middle East is happy. And long beyond the Middle East, the Strait will open as soon as we have it signed.
That's funny. I mentioned Field Marshal Kesselring last night. You all remember that? Well, here Trump said this Pakistani leader, he's a field marshal, highest you can get, above a general. Ha, ha, ha. But I was talking about Kesselring with the laws of war and the Nuremberg trials as a field marshal. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I did hear him say during one of his interviews that he wasn't happy with the Kurds. And he said, I won't forget that Kurds. In other words, he's intimating that he's unhappy with them and he's not going to forget them. That's what we're led to think. I feel that the Kurds are helping because the Iranians have been bombing them in Erbil, Iraq. They did last night, and those were intercepted also. But they are going after the Kurds in Iraq, not for nothing. The Iranians are, and they can't get through. Why would, if the Kurds were betraying America, why would Iran keep trying to bomb them? Like four times just in the past week or week and a half. So, you know, deception is part of war. You know that? Misinformation is necessary. I think Trump's message was he's not going to forget the Kurds for how they helped because they're going to play a role in getting rid of this regime. Trump's not going to settle for this regime to be in place. And so anyway, do we have the nuclear dust? I'm seeing in the chats where, you know, what could have happened is they could have got discombobulated somewhere in Iraq at a facility, okay? A facility. We could have sent a team in like we did with Venezuela and discombobulated the hell out of them and gotten proof positive about where the uranium came from. And we're all of a mind that it was given to them by traitors to this country. So we'll stay tuned. We'll see how that turns out. And the other thing is, through this whole time, we've had operatives. I've discussed that. Mossad's had operatives. The Kurds have had operatives. The Saudis have had operatives. The CIA's had operatives. And a lot of them are walking around with big knots of cash. That story about the CIA guy having $40 million worth of gold bars, that's a lesson that lets you know that that guy was dirty. He'll pay a price. But there are a lot of guys that aren't dirty, okay? And they use that money strategically to help allies. And that's going on too. Been going on. So, yeah, it's a multi-pronged approach. Hi, Sandman. How you doing? Who'd I miss? Outlandish. Nice to see you. Yeah, Kim, the Kurds have been through hell. They've been through hell. And you know, they know the saying more than anybody else. It's a eternal battle. It's a long slog. This isn't something that can get taken care of like in a movie. And that's been what I've been saying for years. And many of you know that also. Because we have got an enemy within that is every bit as dangerous as these mullahs. Every bit as dangerous. And you know this Carmelo Anthony crap? Well, I shouldn't say that because a young man lost his life. And he threw his away. It didn't get the traction that a lot of other racial things that have been turned racial have happened. I believe it's a lot to do with USA getting their money cut off. They couldn't pay protesters like they could for George Floyd. Outside the courthouse, they might have handled 100 people. And people were doing YouTube videos like, there's going to be a race war. I heard creators even say that. And no, we're nowhere near it. We're nowhere near it. But we've been in the past near it. And, you know, in the last 24 hours, Anthony Carmelo is getting a wake-up call. You see him there on the left. I mean the right. That's his second mugshot. That's where they shave your head. They say it for lice. Because he's already been shipped off to a federal penitentiary out of state prison. Or the regional jail. But here's Jasmine Crockett. She's not limited to fists. Where is that one clip? I played a couple of clips from her the other night. But I'll play it if I come across it. But here you're seeing where she is inciting and blatantly putting out disinformation. If a 300-pound man is beating on me, like on top of me and beating me down, I'm not limited to fists. It's insinuating that this Carmelo Anthony was being set upon by giants when they're, you know, the two brothers were supposedly had jumped him. That was a narrative that's totally false, but they keep repeating it. And there's got to be some consequences for this. There are people to this day that think Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 black people and got away with it when there wasn't a black person involved. The power to ignore or the power to magnify falsehoods. Who's this one? Representative Summer Lee claims black voters will stop voting if reparations aren't paid. I say we turn that table around too. all these people making these public pronouncements, I think we ought to be able to look at what they've been doing for the last 10 years, how much money how much housing assistance they've got, how much food assistance, how much medical assistance, how much welfare checks, how much they've got. We want our damn reparations. We got to start flipping this stuff around. But what kind of brain thinks this way? That we're going to stop voting if we don't get reparations? What the hell makes you think that is any kind of going to benefit you in any way? Here's where Trump put this out. This is coming from the Supreme Court. And is this going to be a breaking point? The tariffs were bad enough. Cost us not just the initial having to pay back, why won't that expand? Pay back that 149 to 168 billion that we already collected. What we have not been able to collect on top of that since that stupid ruling has cost this country probably close to $500 billion. What would compel the Supreme Court, a very closely divided Supreme Court, I might add, to do that to their own country? Now, here we're coming in with birthright citizenship, a totally illogical bureaucratic fiat they imposed after Kennedy's assassination. The Johnson administration, and then bolstered by Henry Kissinger, a foreign national, Secretary of State, that created this false citizenship practice that we've been doing since the 1960s. Well, it wasn't that adverse of an impact because we didn't let people come in like Obama and Biden did. Now has the potential to transform America into a different country, a conquered country. The United States of America cannot live with the shackles of birthright citizenship. It's not economically or otherwise sustainable, and no other country in the world of consequence does it. President Donald J. Trump.
Citizenship. The cost, forgetting about the fact that it's wrong, the cost of birthright citizenship is barely not affordable by our country. It's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's in their hands. What can I tell you? It's a common sense ruling. It's common sense. It was exact timing, and it's about the babies of slaves. Thank you for that question.
So I don't know when that ruling is going to come out. I don't know, but I tell you what, if they say birthright citizenship stands, Katie, bar the door. It's going to be trouble. We can't have it. We just can't have it. We'll have people that can't read or write, can't speak the language, going in and voting. And how the hell can you have self-government by a pack of foreigners, by the millions coming in and being swayed by a bunch of Marxists that have taken over? I meant to put this up the other day. Just a reminder. President Trump told the BBC, if I tell Netanyahu to do something, he does it. Just a little reminder. Donald Trump's in charge. So anyway, let me see what we got here. Oh, this is Susan Collins' campaign ad. Because everybody's talking about our control of the Senate is coming down to this race between Susan Collins and Graham Plattner. Can you believe that? But anyway, let me go ahead and play it. Susan Collins up against Graham Totenkopf Plattner.
Susan Collins spent time as a kid picking potatoes in Maine. Graham Plattner spent time as a kid at a $70,000 a year prep school in Connecticut. Susan Collins has brought more than $1.5 billion back to Maine for hospitals, schools, roads, and communities across the state. Graham Plattner runs a hobby oyster farm whose only customer is his mother's restaurant. Graham, say hi to your mother for me, okay? Susan Collins doesn't have a Nazi tattoo, and she doesn't have an account on a notorious predator's Paradise app. Graham Plattner did for years, and this was his profile picture. Oh gosh, please, please, get that off the screen. Anyway, Susan Collins, a senator we can be proud of.
Okay, she ain't perfect, but we sure in hell can't have Graham Plattner in there. I want to go ahead and play this. This is Steve Bannon. Now, he's blowing a cork at John Thune. And Trump put out a truth about 4 or 5 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, 3 days ago, where he said that Mitch McConnell pretty much stabbed John Thune in the back. It was a message from Trump that he hadn't totally given up on John Thune. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, here's Steve Bannon talking about the Plattner race and about John Thune. And he plays a clip of John Thune.
I want to play Thune because I call it Senate cuck talk. Here we're going to play it from yesterday evening.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have a saying around here that if you don't get national security right, the rest is just conversation. And that's certainly true with respect to some of the issues that we have in front of us right now. The FISA legislation, which is pending here in the United States Senate, is critical to keeping this country safe and secure for Americans. And just to put it...
Hang on. The gall of this guy. McCabe, the gall of this guy. We have a saying up here, all puffed up. We have a saying up here. If you don't get national security right, that the rest is conversation. Dude, we got 22 million illegal aliens in this country, and you will not lift a finger to have the back of the president of the United States to get them the hell out of the country. Do not sit there and get all puffed up and tell me about national security, that you're so worried about national security, that Mike Johnson, you're not worried about anything but your Wall Street donors and your big corporate donors and the tech oligarch donors. All you care about is kowtowing to them. To sit there in the microphone and go, you know, we have a saying up here. The saying is that if we don't get national security right, everything else is conversation. You're not getting national security right. When we have an invasion of this country in broad daylight, and the donors back it up because they want cheap labor and they want bigger consumer markets and bigger real estate markets, when it's their deal and you're kowtowing them, do not stand in front of a microphone and start pushing FISA, the very tool used to demonize people and to put people in prison. Do not sit there and say we need FISA. You haven't done the basics. You're a bald-faced liar and you need to be turfed out. If you can't get rid of Thune, it's not going to happen. And God, I'm telling you, you're going to lose the Senate. They're saying, oh, it's all coming down to Susan Collins. There is no enthusiasm whatsoever. Do you think all those people who voted against Lindsey Graham, you got, what, 55% of the vote yesterday? 43%? How many of the 43% that voted against Lindsey Graham in the primary, that hate the sound of his voice, are going to come out in the fall for Lindsey Graham. Holding the Senate doesn't mean anything. You know what it means? You get John Thune puffed up lecturing you about national security. Let's continue on. I want to continue on, Neil. Hang on. Keep going. Let's play it again.
And just to put a fine point on that, if you look at how effective FISA has been, it has stopped numerous terrorist attacks. It has been used in 90% of the CIA's synthetic drug disruptions. So in other words, these drug busts that you keep reading about, a lot of that originates with information derived from the 702 process. So it's very, very concerning when you have the Democrats here in the United States Senate essentially saying that we are not interested in reauthorizing this program, which will go dark at midnight on Friday if we don't take action. Questions?
President Trump and his allies have renewed their calls to fire the parliamentarian and pass the SAVE Act. You've been very clear as to why the SAVE Act doesn't have the votes to pass and why firing the parliamentarian would create problems here. But are you worried that if you don't do what the president wants, that he's just going to criticize your leadership or perhaps withdraw support for your leadership?
That could happen. Look, and it's a well-known fact around here. Sometimes perhaps not fully grasp around the country, but anybody who follows this process closely knows that we don't have the votes. And the only way that you could figure out a way to get the votes, and even in that case, the Save America Act didn't even get 50 votes last week on the floor of the Senate. But even if you confine it to just the two issues of photo ID and citizenship in order to register to vote, on those two issues, it takes 60 votes in the Senate. The only way you could get there is to undo or get rid of the legislative filibuster, and there aren't.
Now I'm stopping him right there because two things he said. Even if you limit it just to citizenship, okay, and voter ID, we don't have the votes. What is he talking about cutting out? He's talking about transgender mutilization of children, cutting that out, among other things Donald Trump has demanded. What the hell do you mean we don't have the votes for that? And what him and Steve Bannon both miss, he said, we would need 60 votes because we can't put it in reconciliation. Why can't we put it in reconciliation with a simple majority, the same way they passed Obamacare? See if anybody guesses why. Why can't we put it in a reconciliation bill with a simple majority, just like Obamacare got done? And see if anybody in the chats gets it. Trump brought it up. I reiterated it. I mentioned it more than once. I read it, truths from Trump about it. The parliamentarian that Barack Hussein Obama's parliamentarian, that woman, a communist, making up rules to stymie the Save America Act. Thune doesn't bring it up, and neither does Steve Bannon. Okay, so I don't trust either one of them, to be very frank with you. But anyway, let it finish out.
Aren't even close.
You're called the leader for a reason. You've got to lead. I hear your problems, okay? I don't care about your problems. We care about results. This is why somebody's got to step up. We may not have 50 votes, but you got 27 to replace this guy. McCabe, your thoughts. It was great what you got, because people should understand that's how they talk every day, okay? This is just more Senate gobbledygook, right? And no decisive action because they're too gutless. They rather cross Trump than cross their donors. That's why they're prepared to take on the president, because their donors say, we got your back. Don't worry. We'll keep putting money into the Senate Leadership Fund, and you guys won't get turfed out. John Cornyn, take your number 2 principle and write that down, how well that worked out for you. Well,
yeah, I see what, the parliamentarian makes is just make sure that the process is followed properly. Parliamentarian rules, the rules of Congress are followed. Nobody cuts corners or makes an error in the process. It's a procedural check is what it is, and it's being abused. It's being abused. Man, this business, it's not just Carmelo Anthony. I'm not just harping on this one situation. This is worldwide. There's a set of memes that's come out. The broadcast I did not last night, but before that, I was showing all the issues we're well aware of with this racial divide. It's cultural and racial, and in Belfast, they're running around. I'm not condemning people. I'm just telling you what's happening. They're going to these government housing units that are housing illegal aliens and burning them to the damn ground. Do I condone it? No. The leaders are letting it get to that point where the citizens feel they have to take things in their own hands. My free house is on fire. I don't think it is, mate. Something else from overseas to prove what I was saying the other night, that the George Floyd thing was an international psyop. You Americans need to stay out of Irish politics. You don't understand what's going on. You mean like you did in 2020 with George Floyd? They're putting up statues of George Floyd over in Europe, for crying out loud. But they ain't got that kind of clout anymore because their funding has been cut off. And how do they get that funding? By controlling the government through voter fraud. Here's Jonathan Turley talking about, he's got a smile on his face. The Supreme Court is going to rule on when is election day. When is this business of counting weeks after an election like they're doing in California? What's going to happen with that ruling? Here's Jonathan Turley.
Jonathan, so let's go to the mail-in ballot case first. So California is still counting the ballots days after the election. So if the postmarks can be handwritten, they can be handwritten and kind of fudged and still be counted. How can the voters be confident this is really a secure process?
Well, California is a system that is so vague it's unintelligible, and I think even a significant number of people in California have had enough of it. But this case is very interesting. If you listen to the oral argument, it did seem like a majority of the justices were prepared to say that when federal law says Election Day, they mean Election Day. And there was some really interesting exchanges where, for example, Justice Alito pressed the counsel in that case to say, well, how far does this go? I mean, how long can your state extend the meaning of Election Day? And basically, the counsel shrugged and said it's up to the state. Well, obviously, the justices didn't like that. What was the most interesting moment for me during that oral argument is that Justice Kavanaugh asked one of the attorneys, if we do vote that Election Day means Election Day, is there enough time to enforce this by the midterm elections? And the answer was yes, that even for military ballots, those probably don't get mailed out till September. So this could impact the midterm. Yeah, so we're waiting to see that ruling for sure. And just because the states can
have the authority to handle their own elections, that doesn't mean that they can institutionalize fraud and election theft. That's ridiculous. I had a truth from Trump where he's talking about Joe Scarborough is getting fired. I've got so many truths from him, though. It's hard to find it. But I get to that another night. I want to get some other stuff now. Joe Scarborough is going to be on the way out. And somebody else we hadn't heard from in a while. Trump put a truth out this evening, about maybe 3 hours ago. Who's a pathetic soul? Let's see who he's talking about. Jamie Raskin, a loser in life who worked endlessly during my first term to impeach me and failed miserably, wasting the country's money, time, and effort, will guaranteed be trying to do it again, despite one of the most successful presidencies in history. The last one that went after me on impeachment was a pathetic soul, Al Green, who just lost his race in a landslide to an unknown candidate, but, in my opinion, one that had more talent than Raskin. He spent time on the unselect committee of the political hacks and thugs. That's the January 6th. And was rebuffed on that, just as he has been rebuffed on impeachment and many other things. If Biden didn't give him a pardon, key words, he'd be in jail right now. Something should be done about people like this who do bad things, but always come up on the short end because of their illegal or unscrupulous behavior and hurt our country in the process. I agree with Mark Levin when he says to expel the bum. Congress can never be great with people like this who suffer massively from Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, casting their vote of hate. A quote from President Donald J. Trump, in case Trust and Safety wants to get after me. I am communicating from the President of the United States. And he posted this from Mark Levin. Not a lot of people know it, but Congress can refuse to seat members. The Senate can refuse to seat members with cause, whether they're elected or not from their state. And they can also expel members. And unlike what happened in Tennessee, it sticks. You can't send them back in again. They get expelled, they're expelled. The House should trigger the expulsion process against Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin is already leading a plot to impeach the president if Democrats take the House. He led prior to impeachment against the president and pushed for his resignation in the past. Also was involved in twisting the 14th Amendment to ban candidate Trump for ballots, objected to Electoral College votes for Trump in the first election, and was a member of the Pelosi January 6th committee that, among other things, destroyed records before the GOP took over the House. Republicans should move to expel Jamie Raskin from the House if he can continue to abuse our constitutional system and undermine our electoral process. Ironic, since he blames Trump and the Republicans for doing so. Having led every effort described above, then take the necessary steps to charge him under the expulsion clause. Under Article 1, Section 5, Clause 2 of the Constitution, each House of Congress, House and Senate, may punish its members for disorderly behavior and, with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. It's true that it's highly unlikely that 2/3 of the House would vote for his expulsion, but the Senate will never muster the 2/3 vote required to convict and remove a president either. That doesn't stop Raskin and his ilk from acting and putting the president through the process. I can think of no other way to push back against this kind of abuse of the impeachment clause by Raskin and the Democrats. Yeah, fight fire with fire. Have a hearing. Formally file a motion to expel and have a hearing on it. Speaking of hearings, you know, all the side noise about Jeffrey Epstein, Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay, all that crap, I'm not listening to it. Because the more people make noise about that stuff, the more they miss this stuff. Lawmakers to question Bill Gates over ties to Epstein. I'm not going to sit here and worry about Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about bad-mouthing Trump, the gall of her and her ilk. Yeah, he's already testified, and it was embarrassing for him. He caught an STD from a Russian prostitute, and he had to take antibiotics to get over his transmitted disease, S3-actual transmitted disease. Bill Gates claims Jeffrey Epstein tried to use his affairs against him. How? Do you know other people Jeffrey Epstein tried to use information against Bill Gates? Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates revealed Wednesday that convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein attempted to use information about Gates's personal affairs, including extramarital affairs, to pressure him into what? How about people in Congress? How about attorneys and lawmakers? How about people in the bureaucracy? I think we're going to get to that point. Hi, Doc. How you doing? And I saw somebody else. Frank's here. Let's see. Ha ha ha. You know, every time I play that clip, let's get ready to rumble, I play that, I get a strike from, what is it, WCW? Wrestling. So I don't play it anymore. But I used to have it in my studio, or I'd play it. Let's get ready to rumble. So anyway, I was just going through the chats. Holy cow, I want to get Bill Gates off the screen. And, you know, just when you think you're running out of time, Trump comes up with, like I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, this Iraq thing is dragging out too far and the gas prices, this and that. And then all of a sudden, boom, Trump comes up with a, well, I hate to wear it out, but a Trump card. So, are we going to see multiple Trump cards? I don't know. I think we're going to we got the FIFA Cup to go through. We've got the 4th of July celebration to go through. We've got the midterms to go through. I think Trump wants stability, success, okay? Prosperity going into the midterms. And I think he wants to cement Congress. And so we got the next 6 months planned out. I don't look for any big explosions between now and then. Not the kind we are hoping for, because we don't want to cause disruption of this process of restoring the republic. Australian broadcaster blames Elon Musk for the Belfast riots. How is it Elon Musk's fault? This is the media is captured by this international criminal cabal. Because how can this woman, it's a woman, how can she blame Elon Musk? Because, I'll tell you what she's saying. Because Elon Musk allowed people to report on this character she called an asylum seeker that tried to behead that man and took his eye out. Because we read about the story, we heard the story, we saw the picture. It's Elon Musk's fault that Belfast is rioting. And you know what? If they had total control, the guy who tried to do the beheading would get 6 months of psychiatric hospital or whatever, and every one of the damn people who are out there rioting would be in jail or worse. Because they can't lose control. The cabal can't lose control, and they're getting close to losing control around the world.
A violent knife attack by a Sudanese asylum seeker in Belfast on Monday led to a night of riots and vehicles set alight in the city. Video of the horrific knife attack, which we've chosen not to show, was posted online. Far-right agitators then shared the material, using it to stoke racial tensions and push for violent retribution. The UK regulator has powers directing tech companies to remove violent posts and control racially charged responses. But Elon Musk chose instead to double down on inciting rhetoric on his platform.
So they're saying he's doubling down on inciting people, for showing people what's happening in their own countries, their own communities. He's inciting, not the people who are allowing that trash to come in their country and allowing these things to happen. You know, remember what they used to say when Teddy Roosevelt was president? He said, walk softly and carry a big stick. Right? Talk softly and carry a big stick. That's what I think about when I see Markwayne Mullin. I'm going to play this press conference he had. How far am I? Oh, my gosh. I'm going to play this press conference. And he is low-key. He's talking softly. But if you listen to him, he's carrying a big stick. All right? We're talking coordination with the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, okay? I saw a video where a guy was communicating with a babysitter, a nanny, who would go online and receive money from these ghouls, these grown men who have a fetish about children having their diapers changed. And I saw in their Space Force, who brought it up? Frank? Somebody brought up Space. Yeah, Frank said, we have it all, Space Force. They were able to intercept that. And I won't get into the details, but the child was being abused. And the person was a young former military. What did I say? Always verify. You never know. Just because they're a veteran doesn't mean they can't be a problem or aren't a problem. But anyway, it's discussing what they did. But anyway, who came to interview this guy? Department of Homeland Security. It wasn't FBI. It wasn't Child Protective Services. It wasn't the local sheriff's department. It was Department of Homeland Security was going after predators, on the internet predators. And in this case, he was paying this nanny who was 1,000 miles away with somebody else's infant. He was paying and telling her to do things. I'll give you $25 if you do this, and I watch. It's disgusting. I don't want to get it farther than that. But anyway, he got 99 years in jail. All right. Carmelo, you feel a little lucky? But anyway, here's Mark Wayne Mullen, Director of National Intelligence, okay? And what they've been breaking up.
First of all, I want to thank the Trump administration and President Trump's leadership in going after the worst of the worst. You know, I tell people that I haven't quit smiling since I've been Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, but I have to take that back because when we start digging into these cases and you start hearing the absolute horrific things that took place underneath the Biden administration, under true neglect at best and criminal at worst, to allow 450,000 kids to go missing throughout this country. President Trump has made it a point to go find these kids. And because of our partnership with HHS and DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, truly using the best of the best, which the Democrats sometimes want to demonize because a lot of times this is ICE, this is HSI, this is CBP. These individuals that the Democrats seem to want to defund, but because of President Trump, we finally funded them for 3 years. We're able to push and go find these kids. We found 146,000 kids so far. 146,000 kids. We still have nearly 300,000 missing. We're investigating reports to where some of these kids claim that they were raped 600 to 700 times. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have kids, if you don't have kids. I don't care if you're a liberal, you're independent, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. If you can't stand for law enforcement to go find these kids, who are you? Who are you? Every leader should understand what's going on. And do you know where we're finding the most of them? Sanctuary cities. Because they know they're safe. That's why they're called sanctuary cities. Because of President Trump's leadership, we're going into those sanctuary cities. We have mayors like Mamdani in New York who want to say, you're not welcome. As a mayor, he knows what's happening on the streets. He knows who he's harboring, and at this point in abating, by saying that we can't.
Did you catch those words? Did you catch those words? Not just harboring and abetting. He said another important word. He's talking directly to Mamdani. He's doing it softly, but he's got that big stick, man. And Mamdani is sweating. He said another word. He said harboring and abetting. Those are felonies. And he's also talking about the children, the abuse. He said one more word. Let's see if anybody gets it in the chats. What's a word that he said? And we've been told about that word in the 17th letter. We've been told about what this subject has been the top subject of the 17th letter, the subject that will unify the nation is the children. We've been told that, right? Not only did he say harboring, not only did he say abetting, he said he knows. Knowingly, he knows what's going on, and he's continuing to harbor and abet. Okay? And he just threw that right underneath Mamdami's nose.
Can't go operate. We're going to. We're going to go find the worst of the worst. We're going to rescue as many kids as we possibly can. We're going to enforce our nation's laws. And we're going to right the wrongs that the Biden administration turned a blind eye to. It's because of President Trump's leadership. It's horrific to what's happening right in our own country because of 4 years of a blind eye that allowed unvetted sponsors to come pick up 450,000 kids on our borders, knowing their reports, while the Biden administration was in office, their own reports was reporting that over a third of the females, regardless of age, was sexually assaulted before they made it to their border. They knew it was human traffickers that were trafficking these young kids to the border, and then they were unvetting or refusing to vet the so-called sponsors, and there was 0 wellness checks. And they want to claim that Republicans, because we're enforcing the laws, is inhumane somehow? What's inhumane about taking care of our kids? As a father of 6 with 3 young girls, I will do whatever I have to do. I will move heaven and hell to go find these kids. And guess what? The same individuals that the Democrats want to demonize every single day, which is our law enforcement, is out there doing that job. And I am proud as I can possibly be to sit here as secretary to say, because of our relationship with DOJ, with HHS, and this administration, we're going to find you. And those that preyed on these young kids, we're going to bring you to justice. And we're going to charge you. And we're going to work side by side with Todd Blanche and DOJ to make sure you pay for your crimes. So I want to thank President Trump. I want to thank Secretary Kennedy. I want to thank Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche for helping us fight against the worst of the worst and bringing them to justice.
All right. He's in no uncertain terms laid out what's going to happen. No uncertain terms. By the way, folks, I haven't done my shout-outs for Buy Me a Coffee. I want to thank everybody that's helped out this week. Buy Me a Coffee. Mike and Beth. Hi, and Gary. And Younger Gang helped out this evening. Let me see. I got to put my link in. And Miss Mindersu. I got to get my bombs going. Ha ha ha. Let's see. How come my bombs aren't showing up? I don't want to bomb Mark Wayne Mullen. No way. But anyway, I really, when you sit there and listen to what he's saying, it just, I feel it. Justice is coming. Mamdami knowingly harbored and abetted. He knows what these kids are going through. By the tens of hundreds of thousands, there's some booms, kaboom. Ha ha ha. That's for everybody that helped out with Buy Me a Coffee this week. Gary, Miss Mindersu, Mike and Bear, boom, boom, and Younger Gang, kapow. I put a link in the chats right here at the 147 mark. There's all I got. Booms and kabooms put in by Cole and everybody. But anyway, folks, he wasn't up there breathing fire and brimstone. He's just telling it like it is. And I love it. I love it. And nobody's giving Todd Blanche any guff. And nobody's giving him, Mark Wayne Mullen, any guff. And they're moving forward. But anyway, I'm going to play this little reminder video for you all And I want to say thank you for spending your precious time with me. And I should be going live tomorrow night. If you're subscribed and hit the notification bell, you'll know when I go live. So anyway, folks, a little blast from the past that's damn near 10 years old to remind you where we've come from, how far we've come. You all have a great night. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States. President Obama is the ex-president. And Mr. Trump, for the moment, steps away for the inaugural address. What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald J.